Well, I've been working on the wings today. There's the wing with the 1.2 video in it. I haven't glued down these coax or the runs of the servo and stuff through it, nor have I glued down this reinforcement plate. I'll do all that at the same time, likely with epoxy. I decided to go ahead and run these wires the way I did underneath this reinforcement plate, and then I'm going to run the wires out. There'll be two coming out here, one coming out here for left rudder, and then there'll be two coming out this one for right rudder and elevator. And I'm just going to run them the short distance into the flight controller. I'm either going to just put some tape on them for the flight to hold them down a little bit, which might work, or I am going to put another channel in here and run them through that and still probably tape it during the flight. But what I'm trying to do is not run the elevator and the two rudders underneath this plate such that the thing is just assembled the whole time. I want to really be able to, it's not going to be easy to run the wires through this, but in the field I could take the two wing halves and the center spar separate from the tail boom and put it all together in the field. That's my current thinking. I don't know how well that's going to work out in the future. And the little 1.2 ready-made RC video transmitter was just 3 wires. And I put it on just an RC connector, ground voltage and video. That's it. That's all it's going to be doing there. That sound wire on that was already cut short from when I used it on another platform. I'm not going to worry about sound on this one. I do want sound on most of them. This one, I put a Dragon Link 915 in this side of the wing. Same thing. All of this is not epoxied down yet. The receiver is double-sided tape down. Part of its signals runs under this reinforcing plate with the servo wire, but the telemetry wire that's underneath I put in a second channel, and I've also got a wire hooked up to RC channel 8 output right here, a single wire going to run in the bottom of that channel underneath the telemetry wires and in. Now, I went looking for something to make up telemetry wires, and I found this one already made up for connecting to a flight controller when I was doing my prototyping. It's extremely too long, but it'll work for the maiden and stuff, and I can come back later and shorten it. It just was plug it in and I was done, so I took the short route. Now the wire that's running out of 8 for RSSI, the single wire, is also very, very long because I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. I just started thinking about RSSI in the past 24 hours where I hadn't been paying much attention to it. I figured I had easy UHF, Crossfire, or Dragon Link. Going to be long range, longer than I'm going to be able to fly at first, so I wasn't worrying about it. But on the flight Saturday, the radio was complaining. I just don't have RSSI turned on. I got to get that running. So I'm going to epoxy over these coaxes and the supply wires, and then epoxy these reinforcements on, And that'll pretty much do the wings. We're getting real close. I've got to do the GPS in the top of the fuselage, the airspeed sensor in the front. Those piggyback off of each other, so the one connection comes back to the flight controller. And then I have the big job of soldering all the pins on this flight controller. This is a H743 wing version 2. That's what I'm going to be using in this one. And soldering all this up is part of the biggest job. But I'm almost down to that. Oh yeah, I got to put the battery tray in the fuselage. I've still got to figure out what I'm going to do about a camera system. So there's still lots to do. And I've got to do the wing mounts in the fuselage. That's about it. Coming along well. Who knows what I'll get accomplished before I quit tonight. I used Gorilla Glue on those reinforcing plates, and I tightened a bolt, not tight now, just cinched it down snug, and then put a clamp and a piece of plywood on the other side, so I had a large surface area pressing, and just clamped that up and let it sit there for an hour before I take it off. I would imagine the Gorilla Glue will have done its thing in an hour. The mini Skyhunter build is finished. I just have to get the flight controller, GPS, and air sensor in it now, and I have to solder up that H743 wing, so I'm kind of procrastinating on that. So I did put the video transmitter here, and I put a big old heat sink on it. I like heat sinks. They do more for helping electronics than about anything you can do. I have the wires coming through the booms like I said I would, and like I say, I'm just gonna move them over into here and put a little piece of tape across this for flight. But I think really I should have just put them underneath that plate and glued them underneath it and made this wing unit one piece. We've got like 8 wires hanging out here right now. We've got on the other side, I've got the servo extension wire that came in the kit. It's longer than any I made. This is the one I made for the rudder, but it's almost as long. Telemetry out of the RC receiver, control out of the RC receiver, all of that. RC receiver over in this part of the wing with its antennas. I put a little thin line of epoxy on top of all the wires to keep them in place. Everything back here is good. I don't like the way these are secured in. They seem to be real easy to turn. I may end up gluing them in. I know I probably shouldn't, but that's what I may end up doing. Got the battery tray mounted in the fuselage. Got the battery straps run underneath it. That was pretty easy to do after I glued the tray in. I glued this tray in with Gorilla Glue. I seem to be able to work with that more as I now have some experience. Got multi-constellation GPS hole cut out, ready to go. Just have to put a connector on that to go to the flight controller. This H743 version 2 has a connector for I2C that works perfectly. It's with the airspeed sensor. So I'll put the airspeed sensor in the front, the PDOT tube in the front, and the airspeed sensor itself will go someplace probably right along the edge here. So I don't know what else would need to be done on the mini Skyhunter, except for I do need to put the magnets in this. Now there's two pieces to the front part, and generally they have one magnet right here and then another one right here for the top piece, which I'm not going to use the top piece, I don't think. So what I'm going to do is the two magnets that should be used to take that top piece on, I'm going to put right here and here two magnets rather than just one in the front for holding down this top hatch. Just kind of double secure it. I haven't done that yet, but I will. So that's basically the mini Skyhunter completed. Now I do have a solution coming for my camera. I'm going to do something a little different. I think this plate will be used. So I've still got to get it on the front. After I get in the new assembly, I'm going to try on this. And that'll take a couple of weeks, I'm told. But I'll show that when it arrives. So basically, let's call the mini Skyhunter build complete. A bet. There's magnets to put in this, and then the camera assembly to mount on this. And like I say, I have to solder all the pins in this flight controller, which I wish those could be purchased pre-soldered, but I do pretty good soldering still. So Skyhunter, mini Skyhunter is now, I'd say, 95% complete, and I'll set it aside for a week or so until I get a new camera system I'm going to try on the front of this one in the door here. Okay, I've got everything ready to start soldering that flight controller up and the cable for the GPS. All right, guys, thank you.